Hello and welcome back to the Game Collection Podcast. I'm your marketing man, Matt, and I'm joined, as always, by our social media guru, Jack. Jack, how are we doing on this first week in December?
I mean, I'm good. We're like I don't know, if I go, I'm taking this whole period like one day at a time, and right now I'm counting that I'm like effectively 1 hour closer to Christmas and this period being over for us. So it's not even down to like days. It's like sometimes it is an hour at a time.
Sometimes it's hours, right?
And this podcast we've decided to record slightly earlier than usual because our days are so rammed. So I'd like the collectors to know at home that we don't actually have all of this time to just sit around and chat video games. This is a somewhat glimmer of hope in an otherwise miserable time for us. So, but other than that, I'm great. How are you?
I'm alive. Like we made it through Black Friday weekend, and I think we have to acknowledge
Celine Dion.
That's right. That's right. Cheers. Look at us. But yes, we're alive. We made it through Black Friday weekend. Thank you to everyone who shopped with us through yes. Black Friday weekend. And indeed before, because our sale was obviously running since the Friday beforehand as well. But yeah, as Jack said, like it's a nuts time of year, innit? Even for like, and I've done years ago customer facing physical retail, and that is horrific at this time of year. But even a step back in the e-commerce realm, it's no picnic. And it is an absolutely insane few weeks. It doesn't really let up until January.
January soon. That's a motto here that's gone around internally for quite some time. Like, I'm talking like years, probably maybe the last like 7 or 8 years, when things would get like really tough at this time of year. The motivational 2 words would come: January soon.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, whether that's like FIFA week at the end of September. Or COD the week after, like January soon, and it's like, oh wow. Like maybe if you're dropping that at the end of November, like you can kind of get behind it. But when the inspirational quotes are coming in FIFA week, hell ensues.
I think that's it, isn't it? Because like, silly season starts sometimes in August.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just you get back from Gamescom and suddenly like 10 massive games have hit, and you're just like, you just CJ meme. It's just shiz. Here we go again. But we're here. We've made it, and as you said, this is an oasis. Recording this point, it genuinely is. It's genuinely the respite, the rest stop for our mental health during these weeks. So yeah, I appreciate you, Jack. I appreciate all of the listeners who do tune in. Appreciate Adam, who never fails to comment over on our Spotify. So shout out Adam. I hope your postie round is going well.
Thank you, Adam. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of you, though. As you said, it's like jokes aside, it's a very challenging time of year, and so seeing the same names pop up and just chatting away doesn't always have to be about purchases. Just engaging with us, talking about like whatever we're talking about on social, or joining in with a pod here, chipping in with questions. Like, it goes such a long way. Like, we're not going to glaze it too much. We don't want to come across as insincere, because I know we talk about it all the time. But genuinely though,
we do.
Like, we do really, really appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Right, we're into December, which means we're officially allowed to start listening to Christmas music. Although I've already broken that, because I think I did a disclaimer 2 weeks ago that was already a Christmas song. So, oh well. But buckle up. Here's another one. What's this set to the tune of again?
That's a great start. I
was like, what? Oh, my brain fart just went, hang on, which carol are we doing? Right, okay, no, I got it. Cheer up, it's Friday. Time for gaming chat. Kick back with your mates. Hang with Jack and Matt. Spicy gaming takes coming in your ears. All opinions are our own, so publishers don't fear. If you like all the games, shop at TGC. Racking up loyalty points and free delivery. Then tune in for gaming bants with the best podcast. No retailer touches us. Let's kick some in ass.
Oh, there's the bleep.
Yeah, there's the bleep.
Don't you dare bleep that out. Like the vibes, absolute vibes. Once again, I'm really just annoyed at myself. I didn't go, hey, in the middle. There.
I know I left that open for audience participation, but you sort of let me down there, man. But I didn't. I also, you don't see these before they come over, so
I do not.
You know, that would have been putting you on the spot.
I hope people understand that, and like I'm not like that's no lie. Like when you drop that in front of me, like this is the first time, like everybody else, that I'm hearing it. So, and
this was a late one as well. Like I only did this while making the cup of tea before this call. So,
I mean, like,
that's why I stumbled a bit. I didn't have time to practice.
Not enough is said about how genius you are. It's just new
some
levels.
call it genius, some call it insanity, but there we go. Publishers don't fear. We are going to hit some spicy takes in this one, I think. So, but all opinions are simply ours and do not reflect the larger opinions of the Game Collection. Even though this podcast is called the Game Collection Podcast. Don't think about that too much. Anyway, we're into Metroid week. Metroid Prime 4 has released. At the time of recording, review scores are already out. 81 Metacritic. And this is it, right? So I've read a bunch of those reviews. I'm really excited to get stuck into Metroid Prime 4. It's a mint series. We've gone on, like, you've talked about your love of Metroid and Super Metroid in particular many times. But yeah, how are we feeling about that 81? Because that's not a bad score.
It's not a bad score. It's a lot lower than I thought it would be. I say a lot lower. I say maybe not a lot lower, but it lower than I thought it was going to be. I think my kind of take.
There's an expectation, isn't there? There's an expectation, isn't there? Like you see Nintendo first party game. Oh, it's got to be 85, if not 90 plus.
Yeah, and it's when it's not, it is a surprise, especially. Sorry, my cat in the background. I think he's going to go for the flowers now.
He's eyeing them up.
Please don't do that. Right. No, please no. Simon says no. Fox,
would you kindly not go for the flowers?
Please, this is a podcast. Oh, man. This cat could be the... No.
Oh, he's just going in.
Yeah, I know, but he's not well at the moment, and I think it's because he's been eating flowers, or he's been doing something which he shouldn't have been doing. Anyway, sorry guys. Do apologize. That was Fox. Fox Mulder, fantastic Mr. Fox, Star Fox 64. Yeah, my guy. The score is low. And some of that, I think, may be due to how long we've waited for this game. Maybe that's in the back of some reviewers' minds. It's like, what's it been, like 8 years, perhaps?
It's been a while. It was mired in development hell for a long time.
It has been, yeah. And so it's one of those that when it launches, is it the case of, it's just not, it's so much anticipation. Maybe. But I do think as well that we've seen a few takes on this that people were saying about Nintendo bias and so on. And I think you could argue that especially in this case, like those review scores have been critical. Like, some big names there gave like what 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, Eurogamer gave it a 3 out of 5.
It's I mean, IGN came in with a solid 8, I think. Played safe. But yeah. I'm a little.
I really hate that, by the way, because I think we're sat here and we're talking about 81 as like a score, yeah, and I think IGN is to blame for that, like more so than any other publication. I feel like IGN is sort of the epitome of that. the condensing of the review score, because you don't get this in films, and it's really annoying. And I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangential rant here, but like in film, you understand that a blockbuster like Michael Bay films, I really enjoy a Michael Bay film. I don't expect to see them get more than 2 out of 5 stars, right? Like I just don't. And there's like appreciation for, like, you know, a thing can get 2 stars and still be thoroughly enjoyable. And we don't have that in games. We don't have. I don't know if we've just not developed. I mean, the fandom, the rabid online, often toxic fandom, is also partly to blame for this, because like we just haven't developed a way of talking about games in a meaningful way that allows us to use the full spectrum. A game has to be like fundamentally broken, I think, to get anything lower than a 6, which I don't know. It doesn't allow us to talk about design or design choices, or, you know, COD and FC often churn out the same thing every year, tweaking little things along the way. And there's a time pressure associated with that, obviously. But they'll never get less than like a 7. And yet I don't know. I feel like film and books and other art forms and music, the critical discourse allows for, this is a 2 out of 5, but I still loved it. Whereas you don't see that in games. If a game gets like 4 out of 10 or 2 stars, like it's bad. It's almost like it has to be fundamentally broken. So if a game is just mechanically fine, it will get 7. And I feel like, a 7 from IGN tends to be, there are some, what should be, I feel, a 5 out of 10. But they're afraid, we're afraid to use the whole scale. It's very strange.
I wonder if some of that is due to, I mean, you know, you mentioned Michael Bay movies. You've seen one, you've seen them all, right? You see one explosion, you have indeed seen them all. But I think as well that the price tag that comes with video games is that, especially in today's economy, like some people are obviously very, very stringent in what they're able to buy, which is completely understandable. And sometimes review scores are a heavy steer on that. And I think, you know, the likes of PS Plus or Game Pass allows people to play more games and to test the waters more. Maybe not at launch. Game Pass, yes, but obviously not PS Plus at launch. But it does allow for more people to experience different games at a later date. But I think when it comes to movies, you can kind of pay a tenner at the cinema to kind of make your own mind up. But you know, video games are under a lot more scrutiny. I think maybe some of that is probably due to its price tag, especially in this economy.
I also wonder as well. I wonder if the role of the critic and the role of game journalists is actually a bit more elevated. Like is actually a bit more impactful, because we certainly see it, right? Like if a game gets 90 plus Metacritic, it flies. Like it flies, and we can't get enough stock of it, right? But I think as well, because games require direct control, because games there's a skill factor there, because you know, the experience of playing a game is more subjective than kind of arguably than sitting in a cinema or sitting in front of a TV and letting media wash over you. It's much more active. You have to meet it more than halfway. You want corroborating accounts of people who maybe think or play or enjoy the same sorts of things as you. Now that's true of most like critical discourse, but I do think, you know, you need that translation between, you know, it's not simply a trailer, because I'm not just going to be watching this thing, I'm going to be playing it. So a trailer isn't quite as impactful as an influencer, for example, playing through, you know, or a live stream or a review, right, which talks about gameplay and talks about the way, you know, you play a game, you experience a game very actively. Whereas, cinema, TV, obviously, the trailer is there's no difference between how you experience a trailer and how you experience the full thing. So maybe that speaks to a greater importance on personal accounts and things like reviews and things like influencer videos and live streams, etc.
Yeah, for sure. The there's so many different ways to consume media today as well. There's so many different ways for people to get their opinions out there. All it takes is one video of somebody that you trust online, whether that is an influencer, somebody you get your information from, to say they don't like something, and who knows how many people that actually changes the opinion of. It's such a powerful world now, isn't it? And I think so many people are reliant on what other people think, rather than playing and trying for themselves.
Well, yeah, you've only got to see, like, and this isn't just reviews, right? Like, you see this now with the little kind of warnings that pop up on Twitter in terms of like, oh, you're replying to a thing, but you haven't actually clicked the link and read it. Do you want to do that first? And that's it. We see the headline and we react to that rather than the thing itself, and that's real sad.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Yeah. But look, am I gonna love Metroid Prime 4? Do I love Samus? Yes. Like, I guess I don't see myself not enjoying it at all. In fact, I'm excited. I'm really excited. It's been a long time coming.
And none of those Metacritic reviews are negative. Like, they're like, it's all green and it's fully on cart.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Ghost came in with an interesting question, which sort of kicked some of this discussion off, really, asking if Nintendo gets a free pass, because they said, with the graphics for Metroid Prime 4 already looking seriously dated and not much better than Wii U era, let's be honest, will this be criticized by the biased media and Nintendo fanboys, or will the fact that it being a Nintendo product give it a free pass? And we've sort of touched on some of that there, but what I want to talk about, what I want to unpack from that is actually the first bit, which is, and we've seen this as well with Xbox this generation. Nintendo, and we know for this from conversations, you know, they're pushing Switch alongside Switch 2, right? So they don't want to ignore that existing fan base. Why would they? The Switch has been just an insanely popular console for them. But do we think does it harm development, that console split, having to serve two platform masters, in the same way that I definitely think that it's harmed some of Microsoft's development practices with having to cater for Series S as well as the much more powerful Series X?
I think the conversation around the Xbox and the PlayStation is a bigger conversation than it is for Switch and Switch 2. Maybe that's not very educated, but like, for me, that's how my brain unpacks that. I think if you've got a successful console launch, you still need to cater to that community. If you've had the console prior to your new console, it was a successful launch, you've got a mass community that are still maybe financially not able to upgrade yet, maybe don't see the benefits yet, maybe don't, maybe are just perfectly happy with what they've got. Like, you know what, I love my PS4. I don't want to upgrade to the PS5. I do think, though, that at a certain point, maybe after a couple of years, perhaps it should be a case of, like, from a development perspective, that kind of forceful change needs to occur. Like the fact that Black Ops 7 still launched on PS4 is a bit wild, right? Like, the fact that that's still happening. I think that, I guess, clearly there's a financial reason that they do that. Clearly they still see a benefit to doing that. So,
particularly in developing countries and territories where, that install base for what I'd call current gen, you've still got a whole bunch of people on PS4, for example, if we're talking about the globe.
So, statistically, I guess it makes sense for them. So, who am I to, all I'm giving is my personal opinion. I think console split, like that maybe needs to, if I had a decision to make, I would be like, maybe give it a 2-year window and then cut and then move forward to produce games exclusively for the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. So, the X and S, though, and the PlayStation 5 and the PS5 digital, obviously, like, that conversation comes into play, I think, because it's effectively trying to be the same console, right? It's just catering to two communities. So
yeah, although the S isn't as powerful, right? Like, at least the PlayStation 5 digital it's the same chipset, it's the same power under the hood. I think the thing that's held Xbox back, and some of those third parties have definitely, there were complaints earlier in this generational cycle, is that, being forced to develop for and cater towards the S has really hampered development. And it's a strange thing, because we'll get onto how the various platform holders have done this year, because we had a great question come in. But you look at past console generations, and you've had the Xbox 360 was the lead development platform between Xbox and PlayStation for that generation. That's why it did so well. And then the Xbox, PlayStation learned from that and was like, fine, the PS4 is going to be a doddle to develop for, because the PS3 was arse. But and lo and behold, the Xbox One's a nightmare, because Kinect, and the PS4 wins by a landslide, because it becomes the lead dev platform. It's troubling if you're old enough to remember the heyday of Xbox and that 360 era. If you are in any way an Xbox fan, I think it's troubling that Microsoft never learn from that, and that split between S and X. Yes, it mirrors PC in a weird way, but you're forcing developers to nerf their games and to not be as ambitious, which I think is the thing that we're really talking about here. And we talked about this in regards to Nintendo before as well. What could Nintendo do? What could these developers do if unfettered by, by old or underpowered tech? If they gunned for like the top, what could they unlock? What delights could we see? If the Switch 2 was just an absolute beast and you didn't have to consider the Switch as well, right? So what would Metroid Prime 4 look like if they'd been developing it for like a truly only next gen console?
Yeah,
we'll never know.
No, we will not. But the idea is nice.
The idea is nice. But yeah, I don't know. For Nintendo in particular, I actually don't know if those console splits do necessarily harm development, because for years and years now, they've not been all about pushing the envelope in terms of graphical fidelity, and their design isn't always necessarily contingent on power. I think actually this is the generation when that would most be true, simply because Switch 2 is simply an evolution of the Switch rather than a revolution in terms of power or capability or feature set. But like, you look at Twilight Princess, and that game didn't really suffer from being an end of GameCube into Wii title. In fact, it was great on both, to be honest. Twilight Princess is so great. Well, I think what I'm saying there is I sort of trust Nintendo, and I'm super hyped to play Metroid. So
same. Like it's always going to divide. It's one of those topics. Like I see a lot of Nintendo hate online from people that play on other consoles. It's like this. It's kids' games. It's this. It's that. They get so much bias towards them, and I'm just like, okay, like if that's your opinion, that's fine. But personally, I don't see it. Like I don't see it. Like it's. Sometimes I feel like console wars, when it crosses over, I feel like the Switch of Nintendo is like just a separate entity to PlayStation and Xbox. It just is. That's just my opinion, not those of the game collection. But yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, I also think as well, like when you get games that, so I think Nintendo's often, so sometimes I think nostalgia creeps in, because Nintendo is, it's been going for quite literally over a century. But in terms of games and gaming products, right? Their design philosophy really just exists to instill joy and curiosity, and they've tended to not be that bothered by the cinematic. It's all about video games. Right, and I think there's a purity in that gets appreciated and sometimes gets lost in some of those nuanced conversations. But I do think that when games come along on other platforms that elicit those same feelings, they also do get rewarded. Like Astrobot out Nintendoed Nintendo at their own game and deserved every single plaudit that came its way as a result, because it's just delicious, pure mechanical joy, like, and the humor and the whimsy and the feelings it evokes. I think that's the key. Like, Nintendo's incredibly good at doing that, and if you don't like that, then yeah, you're going to be like, oh, this is for kids, or these aren't real games, despite the fact that they could only really exist as games. But yeah, I do think that when it pops up, when that sort of philosophy and that those sorts of emotions get elicited through games on other platforms, they are rewarded as well. But it's just Nintendo found a groove and stuck with it.
Absolutely.
And it's worked.
Yeah, not quite right. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. Which you could argue is probably some truth behind why the Switch 2 is the way that it is. Like,
yeah.
I'd struggle to, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's way outside of my pay grade, but imagine sitting down with Nintendo and going, right then, what do we do now? Like, the Switch was just like, I don't know, better than I think anybody could have ever hoped for, ever. Like, how do we even follow that? Like, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I'm not in that pay grade. You know what? I'm glad. I don't want that headache.
And you know, in terms of the speed at which Switch 2 is sold, probably the right call. But yeah, we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, just one thing that I was keen for us to chat about in the wake of Metroid. Obviously, Metroid is a series that has a history of some quite epic boss battles. So I wanted to put this question to you, man. What are your favorite boss battles of all time?
Okay, so I'll actually kick things off because you've mentioned Metroid. Kraid in Super Metroid. I still remember for the first time when you go through that door and then the floor starts to shake and then out he comes and it's just like, this is peak. Like, and then climbing on the things that he shoots out to, just epic. And beating him, I think you got the Various suit off the back of beating him, and then you could go into Norfair and deal with the heat. Oh man, like that's just what I love so much about Super Metroid. Just the way that whole game just allowed you to that feeling of then going, hang on, because you go into Norfair and you're like, oh no, I'm dying. Like everything is boiling. Like, this is not cool. And then you get the suit and it's just like, oh my God, I now have a whole new area to explore. Like, just that reward. But yeah, Kraid in Super Metroid was I think, because it's obviously you have that fight with Ridley at the very start, which is, you don't beat him, of course. It's just you just kind of face off. Kraid was like the first big boss fight in Super Metroid, and man, that just holds such a special place for me, for sure. Other mentions, Seagrun in God of War 2018. I'd like to point out that I did not enjoy that fight in any way, shape, or form, like at all. But I will say that it's probably the most ethereal. Well, what's the word I'm looking for? Like spiritually lifting feeling of beating a boss is when I ripped the wings off Seagrun. I genuinely, I was just like, I felt the weight of the world leave my shoulders. It was just like, I was never, ever, 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 ever gonna beat you, and now you're dead. Mint. Like, it was hell on earth. But yeah, so that the reward for beating her was just otherworldly. I'll briefly touch upon it because I know you're a much bigger Metal Gear fan than me, but the Psycho Mantis boss fight, like, being so remarkably ahead of its time with the changing of the controller ports and so on, just an incredible example of video game development, right? Just unbelievably ahead of its time. But I'll leave you touch upon that a lot more.
Well, I probably won't, because I've got a list of like 7 that I'm going to get through, but that was on my list as well, along with the end from Snake Eater. Metal Gear's got some great bosses. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance has got some great bosses as well. But I'm just an unabashed Platinum Games fan there, so I've got more from them coming.
Okay. Well, I think there's an honorable mention because we talk about Super Metroid, and I know it's my favorite game ever, so I'm always going to glaze. But like Crocomire, the fight, the Crocomire battle, was like incredibly frustrating, and it freaked me out as a kid. Like Crocomire frightened me. Like of all the boss fights, I really didn't like Crocomire because that whole thing about basically, obviously, you've got to keep forcing him backwards with shots, with missiles to the mouth, and it was just like that process of like timing and that, as you know what it's like when you're playing as a kid, and it's just like, this is too hard for me. Crocomire really scared me. And I think the second Ridley boss fight is the hardest in the game of Super Metroid. Again though, incredible, like just epic.
Ridley is a boss in that game. Ridley is a boss in Metroid Prime itself. Like, so good. He's also just a really bad, like his design's just badass as well. He looks incredible and villainous and pointy and badass, and you feel like such a badass when you beat him. Like
he looks like what a pterodactyl will never ever. It's what a pterodactyl aspires to be and will never be. That's Ridley. There it is.
Awesome.
Over to you. Boss fights. Let's have them.
So, it will surprise no one who's listened to this podcast before that I'm going to mention Final Fantasy, but for a different reason. Not because they're necessarily fun fights, but I adore video game music. I love video game music. I love the music of Final Fantasy in particular. And the boss themes in Final Fantasy are frankly unmatched for me. So two particular shout outs. Obviously Sephiroth, One Winged Angel is it's just incredible. It's just brilliant. But also Gilgamesh, like the theme battle on the big bridge is one of my favorite battle themes in any game. Final Fantasy is brilliant. I love it. In terms of gameplay though, so I think most of my picks are ones where you're kind of facing enemies that are very much like you. So you're perfectly matched. So Dark Link in the Water Temple back in Ocarina blew my mind. Like, because you're literally fighting yourself. He's got your move set. How are you going to beat him? No idea. It's my favorite. He's not really even a major boss. He's like a mini boss. It's my favorite battle in the game because you're just fighting a shadow version of yourself. It's phenomenal. I love it. I love that, you do the thrust and he jumps up on your sword and just hits you in the face. Brilliant. Like epic. And for that same reason, one of my favorite boss battles is the masked Lumen Sage from Bayonetta 2. Because again, like the moveset is very, very, very similar, only it's even more epic in its Bayonetta, so it's just ridiculous, and the combat is, I mean, it's Platinum Games at their very, very, very best, and it's just this amazing kind of thrust, parry, back and forth. I absolutely love it. There are more epic boss fights in that series, like at the end of like Bayonetta 1, where you literally fight God. It's like in the solar system, it's ridiculous. It's amazing. But I like the Masked Lumen Sage from 2 really, really, really sticks with me. And like Virgil, like anytime Dante goes up against Virgil and Devil May Cry, I love, because like their siblings and their family history is super effed up, and they're basically like super evenly matched, and they're just bickering. It's just great. It's so good, and the fights are epic, and I love Devil May Cry. And finally, just shout out Ganondorf straight up. Hitting fire, well, like light arrows and playing fireball tennis with him at the end of Ocarina is fantastic. I may even prefer the boss fight from Wind Waker, just because your move set is a bit more elevated and you can do a little bit more as Link. But yeah, both of those phenomenal.
This takes on many forms as well to Ganon. Like you always just like, you never really know like which like what kind of Ganon you're going to face in that game.
No, I really love it's like Shadow Ganon, or Phantom Ganon from the Forest Temple as well, where like he's coming out of the paintings at you, and you've got to I think you've got to shoot light arrows at the paintings, and then he pops out, and then you've got to do a bit of fireball tennis, and it's just a really that whole temple's a vibe. It's super moody and eerie and mysterious, and Matt, Zelda's so great. But yeah,
Matt, like Zelda, Final Fantasy, Halo, like 3 pillars of Matt's side of this podcast every single week.
Yep. I don't think I'm going to mention Mass Effect this time, but
you just did.
No, you never know. You never know.
Did.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Mass Effect mentioned.
But yeah, some epic boss battles. Obviously, we didn't touch on, and I think there are some glaring omissions there. I don't think either of us are Souls-like fans particularly. So there are some massive omissions, obviously, from FromSoft. I will say this, I love the design. As I've mentioned on previous podcasts, I just wish I could love the games, because I really don't. But let us know, dear collectors, what your favorite boss battles are. Which ones were you super proud of defeating and finishing? What the most memorable ones? What sticks in your memory? Hit us up. Let us know in the comments. And as always, thank you so much to everyone that sent in some questions. We've gone over to Facebook for the majority of these ones. Shout out the Game Collection Facebook community, because Facebook is still alive and well for us. Very, very much so in 2025. And growing, which is mad and awesome. Insane. So yeah, shout out the Facebook massive there. Andrew Thompson comes in with a really, really hard question, to be honest, and took some thinking about. And he said, rate Sony's, Microsoft's, and Nintendo's year out of 10. Obviously, we've got award season coming up. So he's also asked, do you take video game awards shows seriously? But yeah, rating Sony's, Microsoft's, and Nintendo's years out of 10. Jack.
Okay. So Sony, I've gone for a 7.5, and I've called out Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2, just because they were 2 like really well performing games for us this year. You know, Yotei and like all coming towards the latter half of the year, but yeah, so I think it's been a solid year. I kind of had it at an 8, and then I dropped down to 7.5. I don't know. Maybe some of that is the people like the Xbox community going, "Oh, you just love Sony and you hate us," and like we don't. Like we don't. I think a 7.5 is fair.
I've gone 7 on Sony. I've gone 7 on Sony because I think, same reason. Death Stranding 2. I love Ghost of Yotei. They've had a couple of other exclusives as well, like Lost Soul Aside. But yeah, I think use the word solid year.
Solid year.
Nothing massively spectacular. We haven't had like any, apart from sort of Death Stranding and Yotei. There haven't been any like sort of huge seismic first parties. Naughty Dog are still yet to release. And who knows if they will an actual original first party game for this console generation. So yeah, I think it's been a modest year in terms of releases and exclusives for them, but obviously a really, really solid year. It helps that they've done nothing particularly offensive. Like they haven't jacked prices or, we'll get onto it, fired a bunch of people. But yeah.
Next,
Xbox.
So Microsoft, I have gone with a 6.5 for the year. Like to call out Outer Worlds 2, that performed very well. Doom the Dark Ages, again, solid, very solid. Unfortunately, obviously, what lets it down is that Microsoft more so than Sony. Games are often very much lacking on the disc itself, and obviously the kind of the pushback from physical towards a digital future. That's just my personal take. That's what this rating is for. So yeah, Microsoft for me a 6.5. The games, they've had some solid releases. I know you love Ninja Gaiden as well, yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Which I played at Gamescom and I sucked so bad at. It was like that was hard, man. But yeah, for me a 6.5. I think they've had some good and they've published, as you mentioned to me earlier on, they've published more titles this year. There's actually been some solid movement. So for me a 6.5. How about
you? I really struggled with this one. I still don't really know where to put it. And it's because Microsoft's strategy has changed. Like is so different. Like if I was an Xbox fan, if I bought a Series, well, I own a Series X. If I just had a Series X, I don't know, man. I'd probably rate this year a 5. And they've put out some great games, but there's no reason for me to really own an Xbox Series X anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like Game Pass is good, but the price has skyrocketed on that. So it's difficult to sit here at the end of the year and I'm dealing with this myself. I'm like, do I cancel it? I don't think that I'm really getting the value out anymore, especially now that my attention's been diverted with the likes of Yote, and I'm still really enjoying my Switch 2. So I don't know, like from a company perspective, like having 5-6 games in the top 10 of the PlayStation list is frankly brilliant trolling. I love it. Like I'm very here for that. Like that's kind of amazing. And it was wild seeing Gears of War on a PlayStation. That's mad.
Yeah,
so kind of like from a strategic standpoint, that's kind of genius. And if that's where they're headed, like great. And so some of that decision making, fantastic. I think from a broad multi-platform games perspective, and this is largely because they just bought a whole bunch of studios, not necessarily because they've learned how to foster talent in the same way that Sony and Nintendo do. But in terms of the games that they've published and put out, probably an 8, if not higher. Like honestly, I think that's been okay. But they're all multi-platform now. There's very little reason beyond the Game Pass, and even that's not quite as good as it once was. I dare say. To sort of really own an Xbox. But yeah, I think I'm going to net out on a 6 with them because I also just can't ignore the fact that they fired 15,000 people this year, which is an almost unfathomable number. So, yeah, and they hate physical media, it seems. So,
I think your viewpoint is worth noting on that. Like your viewpoint around that is because, like myself, when I say I work in the video game industry, this is my only experience of working in the video game industry. I've been at the Game Collection for 11 and a half years. I think it's 11 and a half years. Just for the purpose of the pod, for people to kind of unpack that opinion a little bit more, you have worked in various roles in different arms or like different branches then of the video game industry. Yeah. So you know people that were affected by that. You also understand the implications. You having had experience in multiple parts of the industry. I think that's probably worth mentioning as well. Just me having mentioned that because it's not just the case of they fired 15,000 people, they suck. It's you have been around this industry for a number of years. You have seen behind different screens in different arms and different businesses, and so I think you have a much broader view on how this industry works than I do. Obviously, 15,000 people being fired sucks. Like I don't need kind of a look into screen to understand that, but I think it's probably worth me saying that about your viewpoint there because you've got a lot of experience in this industry, and you know how hard hitting that is.
Yeah, I mean, some of this is cyclical, but I don't think it's. I mean, it's an astronomical number, and especially and it's difficult to swallow when you're placing that next to headlines that are saying, "Oh, this is being done to invest more heavily in AI," and I mean, it's like well, some of that might help, but you've just like record profits and how do you join this up, guys? Because it's not making any sense. Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, like I know people, I know a number of people that we've personally who were affected by it, right? And obviously that's gonna color a view. But I just think as well, it's nervy for us as well, right? So we've talked about this on previous podcasts. So there's a bias there too in terms of a physical media future, and there's a question coming on that as well. I think we saw a bit of an insight into Microsoft's plans for the future with that collaboration with Republic of Gamers, with the release of the ROG Ally X, which is still absurdly expensive, I think, for what it is. But it sold out, right? Like there was demand for it. I think that's part of their strategy, is a move into trying to be this high-end gaming brand that's not necessarily for everyone. And that's a bit sad to me, because the existence of the Xbox Series S, for example, suggests something of a nod towards like financial accessibility. Microsoft did subscriptions for the Xbox Series X and S when they first launched. I was like, that's an awesome idea. You're lowering that barrier to entry. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's difficult to put a finger on, because their strategy is so different, and because it's no longer a console first strategy. It's no longer we need to sell Xboxes. We need to sell the brand and the subscription and the experience across many devices. So on one hand, I would say 8, possibly even an 8.5 year, when you really take into consideration their strategy. But if I'm sat there as an Xbox Series X owner, I don't know, and just that, I'm giving them a 7, and then I'm knocking off another point for firing 15,000 people. So 6.
There it is.
Nintendo.
Okay, so I've actually given this also a 7.5. And my reasoning for that is because I know you've mentioned about how well sales went for Switch 2, which is correct. I have no argument there. This is all personal opinion, and for me, the Switch 2 has not done what I wanted it to, like, at all, really. The games for me have been underwhelming thus far, and again, that might ruffle some feathers, but it's all personal opinion. I still don't get why Donkey Kong Bonanza wasn't a launch title over Mario Kart World. Like, drop that at Christmas and drop that, like, I don't know, like maybe not Christmas, maybe that's too late by what they decided. But I think not having a 3D platformer at launch, for it to then launch, we spoke about this on various other pods as well, for it to then launch within like a month, was it like a month after?
Yeah, it was July.
And then Bonanza for me was underwhelming. I really wanted that to be amazing, and a lot of people have chimed in saying it's their game of the year, and that's great. For me, it just didn't do it, like, at all. Obviously, Kirby, I got to play because I didn't play it on Switch. Kirby and Forgotten Land. Is that the one that relaunched on Switch 2? I've played some of that, and I've enjoyed that. Probably one of the more enjoyable games actually I've played. But that to me is effectively a reskin, right, for the Switch 2. And I'm excited to play Metroid Prime 4. I've got high hopes for Prime 4. But for me, the Switch 2 just kind of hasn't done it for me. And so far, the game Mario Kart World for me is disappointing. Like, I'll go as far to say that it's disappointing. It just, yeah. I love Nintendo, and I wanted it to absolutely rock my world. But thus far it hasn't. Obviously, we're like half a year into its life. Like, let's not. I'm in no way saying this isn't going to be. I could be sat here next year and going, I rate Nintendo's year 11 out of 10. Like, I'm crying out for a new Mario 3D platformer. Like, I've been playing Galaxy again and like having an absolute blast with that. So like, but again, that's a Switch title. It wasn't launched for the Switch 2. But and plus you know what you're getting with Galaxy 1 and 2. They're phenomenal games. So yeah, 7.5 for me. And even then, man, that may be generous. I'm hoping that Metroid Prime 4, I'm believing that it will bump that up for me when that arrives. I'm gonna have a great time with that. But yeah, 7.5. How about you?
I've gone 8.
Okay.
Which may speak to my Nintendo bias, to be honest. But I've had a much better time with the Switch 2. I think like it's just replaced my Switch, and it's bigger and it's better. And the only thing I really don't like about it is the battery life, which is abysmal. It's real bad, guys. It's real bad. But then so was the original Switch before they brought out the both the Lite and then the revised version, which added like 2-3 extra hours to the battery life. So I'm presuming there'll come a point where they do that with the Switch too. But to be fair, battery tech, it hasn't really evolved quite as much. I completely understand all of the things that you just said there about Switch 2, by the way. I too have found Mario Kart World to be quite disappointing. But I also don't really think it could have been anything other than disappointing in the face of Mario Kart 8. Yeah. Because like you've got a game that's just, as we've said before, they've built on it for 10 years. It's literally the greatest racing game of all time. And I fight me. There's literally nothing better. When you've had a decade to perfect what was already pretty damn great, like there's no better racing game in my opinion than Mario Kart 8. So which is again one of those exec rooms in Japan. Oh, how the hell are we going to follow that? And I think I kind of agree with you. I wish they hadn't. I wish they'd gone in with Donkey Kong as the pack in, and we'd had a Smash Brothers, kind of instead of a Mario Kart potentially, right? I think that would have been great. But that said, I've had a really great year with my Switch 2. I've loved Bonanza. I don't think my only issue with Bonanza is it's not a game that I've found myself kind of playing for hours upon end. It's a game I dip in and out of. But I'm still really enjoying that. I've really enjoyed Pokemon. I'm still really enjoying that. I'm looking forward immensely to Metroid. I've loved. You can see the controller if you're watching this on YouTube or the video podcast version on Spotify. You can see the GameCube controller just in my background there. That's massive. Yes, it's tickling my nostalgic bits, but like getting the GameCube into Nintendo Switch Online has been absolutely amazing. Revisiting F-Zero, I'm adoring it. I'm absolutely loving it. So like that was kind of the most exciting thing in a weird way for me. So, and God damn it, this is my opinion. This is my score.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Yes, 8 there, and I've loved seeing Galaxy 1 and 2 back. Because like we're talking about Switch and Switch 2, right? And I think it's going to be a really interesting next year for Nintendo, and in particular for the Nintendo Switch 2. Is okay, cool. Yeah, you've navigated the first half year. You've got a peak season that we're in the middle of right now. How well does Switch 2 do through this period is going to be a really, really interesting question. What next? And we talked about this previously. Like, what next for Switch 2? When can we start seeing some optimized experiences for that console, for that machine, particularly from Nintendo's first parties? So yeah, 8 for me, but I completely understand anyone that found Switch 2 in particular to be a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're in fairly close alignment there. I think so.
Well, yeah. I think I said that just before we discussed that, just before we recorded. Like we just spoke scores. We didn't unpack anything, and then we're in pretty much like a half point of each other on everything. I think so.
Yeah. Great minds.
Yeah.
Shout out Lindsay Lawrence, who has come in with a very pertinent question for us working in retail, which is, what's the best gaming bargain you ever got? Could be game-wise, could be merch. Best gaming bargain.
Yeah, I had to think about this one, and to be honest with you, I know I have a lot of love for this console, so that probably does like weigh in. But when I started working, not long after I started working at the Game Collection, I got a Wii U for like £90, I think. It was something like that. I think either the box was damaged. I struggle to recall, but I think the box was damaged, or there was some reason as to why it couldn't be sold. And I took that, and man, did it blow my tiny mind. Like, I know the console itself sucked, and I know we've spoke about this, like, well, it didn't suck to me, but largely sales-wise, it sucked.
The sales sucked. The console was incredible.
The console was fire.
Again, fighters.
And without, I don't want to be a broken record on this pod, because I feel like we always talk about the same things, but like for me, I struggle to think of a better catalog of games on a Nintendo console than what the Wii U had. Like, it had some absolute bangers, and I'm so glad that those titles got more love on the Switch. Like, not enough people played them. Like Donkey Kong, Tropical Freeze, Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. I would love a sequel to that, by the way. Absolutely loved that. Super Mario 3D World is my favorite Mario game ever, and the fact that just got more love, and I went back and completed it again on Switch was just mint. Look, I adored my Wii U. I really did. And to be honest with you, 3D World, when I was playing it, it was the first time in years where I couldn't wait to finish work to get home and play. You know, you spoke about that love, that feeling of like not wanting or not being drawn to Bonanza. That's what I wanted from Bonanza, was this kind of, oh my God, here we go, right, new Switch console, 3D platformer, like the latest Nintendo console, 3D platformer, let's have it. And I didn't have that at all. Like, I wanted to finish work and be like, right, evening plans cancelled, I am playing Bonanza. And
side question. When was the last time you actually, I think I know the answer to this, but when was the last time you had that with a game in general? And was it Astrobot?
I mean, Astrobot holds a very special place in my heart. But I will probably say Silent Hill 2, even though it was like a horrible experience. It was one that fully grabbed me, and I was just completely immersed in the misery of the story all over again. And yeah, but from a joy perspective, Astrobot without a shadow of a doubt. Like, and then just going back and playing the same levels again, because they just brought me so much joy. I mean,
it's nice to know that we're not too old then to sort of to have that feeling, because obviously you change, right, and your habits change, and your feelings change, the way you experience things change as you grow older. So it's nice to know that games still have that capacity.
Yeah, for sure.
But
what about you? What's your best gaming bargain?
I'm going to shamelessly plug a game that we have on our website. So I'm just going to put this out there, collectors, and say, if you like stealth games and you like player choice and you haven't picked up Hitman World of Assassination, you should go get that bad boy, because oh my days, in terms of value, it's incredible. 20 plus levels, almost endlessly replayable. Hitman World of Assassination, the game collection for all your physical gaming needs. Just in general, if you can get it at a good price, and you always can at the game collection, pick up Hitman World of Assassination if that floats your boat, because as a content package, I think it's almost unmatched. But in terms of, I was thinking about this, best gaming bargain I ever got. I picked up a Nintendo GameCube Wavebird for a £5 at a car boot sale once, and it absolutely delighted me. because obviously it's the best controller of all time. And I already had one, but I wanted a second. And yeah, just sort of bowling around a car boot sale. There's a Wavebird, $5, lovely.
Somewhere out there, right? Somewhere out there is an incredibly disappointed adult gamer that says to his friends, "Can you believe my mother sold my Wavebird for $5 at the car boot? I told her not to touch that box of stuff, and she took it. And honestly, she got a $5 for my Wavebird." It's kind of like you hear those stories of like, "Oh, I've got a complete set of Pokemon cards in the attic, but I can't find them," or like, but there's that. It's like, I moved out. I specifically wrote on the box, "Do not touch, do not throw out, do not sell." But Mum sold it anyway for a $5 at a car boot.
I hasten to add, this is back in the day, so it's not taking into account, the nerd inflation that these things are now. But like even back then, like a $5 was great.
Not even now, right now, like this. I'm telling you now, like that man.
He's still cross. Yeah.
He probably hasn't spoken to his mother since.
I was one of those guys with Pokemon cards, by the way. Yeah, had a Gen 1 OG, really, really, really good condition Charizard. Yeah, I try not to think about that too much. Yeah. Anyway.
Well. Yeah. I mean, look, things come and go, Matt, don't they?
Things come and go, Jack.
Honestly, like, it's fine, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It's still gonna be fine.
It's all gonna be fine.
It's all fine, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Lindsay, for that question. And yeah, collectors, let us know what's the best gaming bargain you've ever got.
Yeah, let us know. Drop a comment, or please do.
A couple of questions to finish up. And to be honest, we could probably do an entire podcast on this one. And we have sort of touched on this before. But I just briefly wanted to address this one. So Gary Finch has asked, what are your thoughts on the rise of digital media? I love your site. Thanks, Gary. But I struggle to support as I'm almost exclusively all digital. Do you feel the pinch? What can you do to stay successful for future generations when not all consoles will even play physical media? Yeah.
I mean, we probably should have done this question at the start because it's going to be a bit miserable, no?
It is, but we're going to end on a good one. We're going to end on a more positive note.
We are. No, look, we spoke about it at length. Well, we cover it in every pod. We cover it on social most days with our physical media forever tagline. Wherever possible, we love to share that. Look, we say physical media forever, right? Because we love physical media, we sell physical media, we believe in physical media, and we enjoy it. It's as collectors, that's what we love. We are not stupid. We know the world is changing. As a retailer, we know it's changing. As a retailer, we know that there are bigger struggles ahead for us than we're in right now. And all we can kind of do with that is evolve as much as we can. And show love for the community that supports us. We don't know what the future holds, but I'd like to nip in the bud just for the purpose of the question. We don't hate digital media. We don't. I own digital games, and sometimes I do that for the convenience. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't, because that's a fact. Given the choice, what would I choose? Physical every time. It's not always possible.
My favorites, I like to own both sometimes, because you've got because then you're sort of set up nicely for if you get because between the last generation and this one, the games that you bought on previous, and even actually going back to some of the games I bought on my 360, I can still play on my Series X.
Yeah,
which is quite nice in terms of digital backwards compatibility, which isn't always a given. That's why it's good to have the physical as well. But I do sometimes buy both if I can for games that I get through and I love, and I'm just like, if there's a good deal on, either way, if I've got something digitally that I've absolutely adored, I'll I'll make sure I get it physically. If I got something physically that I absolutely adored, I might get that. I might get that little digital backup. If there's a good deal going, just for the convenience sometimes, because I'm built for comfort, not speed.
I will say as well, I mean, we do this pod. We both work for a video game company. We both have a passion for video games, which is why we get along so well and work together so well. I mean, it's clear to see like you have a bigger passion for video games, and so sometimes that dev support, the like whether it is a good deal on a digital game if you've already owned it physically or so on, you feel happy to do that too, right? And for me, like it's my passion. I must say, I love video games. My passions go into other areas too. Like I love my clothing and so on. So much to my girlfriend's enjoyment when I come home with a new shopping bag every other week. But yeah, it's it's we all have passions and we support them where we can, right? But I will say that, like, yes, our passion is physical media, but we do not hate digital media. We do not hate digital purchases. We're not against them in any way, shape, or form. We would like to continue to see gamers have the choice of both for as long as we possibly can, to support both communities. That's it. Like, that's it. There's no hidden agenda. We don't hate it. We just want it to coexist with physical. Sadly, that's probably not always going to happen. We will continue to champion it as long as our doors are open.
Yeah, 100%. And there are reasons why we haven't gone into selling digital keys, for example, right?
Yeah.
Largely because there are global stores sat in tax havens that can massively undercut us on price, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a biggie.
That's life.
That's life. But I think, one thing that I will say is, as a business, we've started diversifying. So we have a sister collectibles website. Go check it out, TGC Collectibles, for all of your collectibles needs. So yeah, if you're into trading cards, figurines, tabletop, there's a lot more margin in that. And so that helps, that supports the business, that allows us to keep doing kind of what we're doing on the gaming side as well. We've got a publishing arm, a nascent publishing arm. So, again, we're looking at ways that how do we help bring more games to market? Can we actually support that at a grassroots, at an indie level? And that's, it's a very young vertical within the business, but that's stuff that we're looking at as well. So as a business, as an overarching business, we are looking at sort of ways that we can, let's say, de-risk and diversify.
Yeah.
For the game collection, it's like, transparently, how do we double down on what we do great? How do we continue to bring games, champion physical media, do that profitably, and do right by our customer base? And I'm not gonna lie, Gary, it's getting harder, and it's because ultimately, and vinyl comes up a lot, right? Because obviously vinyl is massively popular, resurgence in recent years is wonderful to see, but it's not a direct parallel, right? The music industry and games isn't a direct parallel. For one, it's not tech dependent. Like, turntables will always exist, actually, and they can always exist, and kind of anyone can make them, right? There are very, very few folks making consoles. And when those folks decide that, discs aren't all that anymore, or cartridges aren't all that anymore, that's when it's going to get real dicey. And there's nothing really that we can do about that.
No.
So that's an existential threat. Not going to lie.
Enjoy us while you got us, collectors.
But I think that's the thing. Like, there's still consumer power in buying physical. There's still money to be made there, and there's still, we hope, for as long as the ability and the capacity to champion and support that choice. And it is about choice, as Jack said, for as long as possible. And the day may come when it's simply not feasible to be a physical media retailer anymore in video games. But today is not that day. So for as long as we possibly can, physical media forever, even if we acknowledge it may not be forever. It will be in our hearts.
Forever.
So yes, thank you, Gary. Let's end on something more upbeat and a bit more fun. So Gareth Newnham has asked, why is Thank Goodness You're Here the funniest game ever made? And Thank Goodness You're Here is very funny. But is it the funniest game ever made, Jack? What's your funniest game? Or what do you think is the funniest game?
I've never played it, so I couldn't comment, but I will trust your judgment and Gareth's. A couple that came to mind for me, or a few that came to mind, Untitled Goose Game. Just like,
oh my god, I can't even believe I didn't think of that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, just comedy gold, to be honest. Like gold. Conker's Bad Fur Day.
That was on my list.
And I'm gonna say Goat Sim, because when I played Goat Sim on my phone on the way to London, years ago, I was on the megabus to London and I downloaded Goat Sim and played it, and just blew my mind, man. It's just running around, jumping on trampolines and stuff. Just hilarious. But yeah, Untitled Goose Game, I think, for me, there's probably some glaring omissions here that have probably had me barely laughing, that I can't recall off the top of my head. But those are a few that kind of just jump out at me. How about you?
Yeah, I think Conkers was on my list as well. The Great and Mighty Pooh is one of the finest comedic moments in any video game.
They don't make them like that anymore.
They literally don't. No. I think the closest thing we've had in the modern era has been maybe South Park and Stick of Truth. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny you mentioned Goat Sim. So I had a bunch of similar games on my list. Starting with Surgeon Sim, actually, and it's basically just physics-based chaos, right? I just remember when Surgeon Sim first came out, and you're just butchering this person, and it's an absolute disaster, and you can't do anything, and it's like Quap. I don't know if did you ever play Quap?
Was that the keyboard one?
Yeah. It's a little. Yeah. You're literally just trying to run. I think it's by Bennett Foddy.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to use the QWOP keys to control the various limbs of this runner, and it's a complete disaster. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, because there was definitely when that sort of physics-based calamity game first took off. So yeah, Surgeon Sim, Goat Sim, and I think we got it definitely got a bit too many people tried to jump on that bandwagon, and it got a little bit tired a little bit quickly. But like that first round of games, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I had a couple of other honorable mentions. They're not necessarily straight up comedy games, but I laughed. Parappa the Rapper delighted me. And just made me giggle. I think the Wii is responsible for a lot of great comedy, not least any WarioWare game that has ever existed. And I just remember, I think it's WarioWare Smooth Moves just had one of the mini games is just hula, and it just throws out these really weird kind of little mini games, and you kind of got to decipher them in real time and then do the thing. And the hula I just remember absolutely just pissing myself with laughter at WarioWare Smooth Moves. So shout out, just WarioWare is great.
Can you give me one more hula, please?
Hula.
Thank you.
But I think my favorite funny game, and to be honest, it's not even necessarily a straight up comedy, is Portal 1 and 2.
Okay.
I mean, they're incredible puzzle games, but the writing is actually just some of the best there has ever been in a video game ever. GLaDOS and the dark comedy in Portal 1 is phenomenal. I didn't even think they could come close to getting near that, let alone topping that. And then Portal 2 arrives, and the masterstroke of casting Stephen Merchant in that as well. And when GLaDOS turns into comes back as a potato, it's so good. It's so good. Like, you were singing. It was a moment in time as well. Portal 1 in particular. People just singing "Still Alive." Like, "The Cake Is a Lie" is still uttered to this day. It's endlessly quotable. It's a brilliant 10 out of 10 game in its own right. And then you get a sequel that's basically, the only reason it's not quite as good is because it didn't come first. Like,
okay,
and therefore isn't quite as inventive. But it's, 2 10 out of 10 games that I adore. They don't give me belly laughs, but although actually no, GLaDOS Being a Potato did. I just love them. I love them. I play them every year. I giggle every time, and they're some of the best games that have ever been made by anyone ever.
You saying Portal 2 has just made me think of Postal 2.
Oh no, very different vibes
on PC. I remember my friend in school was saying, like, "Jack, you need to play this," and I'm like, "I've never even heard of it." He's like, "Take this home, play this. Let me know what you think." My God, like, I went in with no understanding. Shook, utterly shook.
Do you know what I will say, actually, in that similar vein? When I was younger, well, first of all, as a kid, that definitely shouldn't have been playing GTA, but shout out GTA. Like, a very funny game. But Carmageddon, just from real dark humor, because there was a power up you could get in Carmageddon. Like, first of all, it's grotesque and horrific, but also quite funny in a weird way, and very cathartic. But yeah, some of those video game nasties of the 90s and early noughties. There was a power up that allows you to fire springs, and I just loved firing, just battering other cars, and then like the blocky pedestrians and cows, like sending cows flying is never not going to be funny to me in a video game. Yeah, shout out the slapstick uber violence of Carmageddon 2 in particular, actually. Like,
you say the name, and I remember there being a Carmageddon game, but I don't think I ever played it. But sounds like I missed out, to be honest. I wanted to fire springs at cows. Yes,
fantastic. Couldn't exist now, but God bless the late 90s.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. Weirdly, like, and again, the original GTA, GTA as a series has evolved like massively. Somewhat. But this is sometimes the things that you can do in those games, you sort of joke about them, and it sort of makes you sound quite psychotic. But just what was funny in the 90s probably hasn't aged terribly well. But I do remember as a kid absolutely just really laughing every time you get the line of Hare Krishnas turn up. And if you run them all over, you go like Garanga just appears on the screen. It's wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
No words.
No words.
Like,
also shout out Mortal Kombat Toasty Guy. Toasty!
Finish him.
Very, very random.
But wonderful nonetheless.
Indeed. So, yes, thanks, Gareth, for that. And thank you to everyone who sent in questions. Thank you to everyone that engages with us, as always, on social, listens to these podcasts, and that ultimately buys from us too. And yes, for all of your physical gaming needs, do check out the game collection. And we'll catch you next time, folks.
Normally I get to be like, check out, and then but you just went for it this time.
I just powered through.
Nobody, if you're not watching, like, my arms are spread. And it's like, yeah, check out, and it's like you just got.
Should we redo it?
I'm like,
let's redo it.
Hell no. You've built it up way too much. But yeah, seriously, for all of your physical gaming needs, check out the game collection. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. Watching,
have a lovely weekend.
Engaging.